I am Cliff Gardner. My family and I run a small ranching operation in northeastern Nevada. The reason I'm here this afternoon is I wanted to clear up some of the disinformation, misinformation that has been disseminated by various sources across the United States this past week with regards to the Bundy impoundment of cattle and the situation that has gone on for more than 20 years now. I've known the Bundy family for a good long period of time. I have nothing but admiration for every one of them, the boys, the girls, the mom and dad. No one, I believe, has done a better job of standing up, not so much for livestock and their particular operation, but for freedom and liberty in the United States. That's important to all of us. One of the things that I've been disappointed in is the rhetoric that has come forward with regards to discussions saying that Bundy has lost 2 cases and thus is acting as an outlaw of sorts. What is never mentioned is that early on, before those 2 cases came forward in federal district court, there was another case that went before the Interior Board of Land Appeals. In that particular case, both sides were allowed to present issues with regards to the question as to whether livestock were actually detrimental to desert tortoise. And what was found in that court proceedings was that the ranchers were absolutely right. If anything, they were benefiting. The livestock were of benefit to the tortoise. In fact, when I was privileged to do some of the science and look into the history of the issue, we found that for the first 50 to 60 years of earliest exploration into the western United States, there was absolutely no sightings of desert tortoise at all. They were almost non-existent. I believe in one instance, later on, in one discussion, they made mention that tortoise were used by the Indians for a food source. This is amazing because these people travel thousands of miles in northern Arizona and southern Nevada, covering vast distances and not seeing the tortoise is a significant point and fact that has never been considered or was not considered in those later cases. This is one of the problems that ranchers are having in the western United States. When they go into federal district courts, those courts are not elected like they would be if we were governed by our own counties and officials in the state. And thus these people represent federal officials to a greater degree than they represent the interest of the common American. It goes back to what Jefferson and Adams and many of the people that founded America talked about, the right of local self-government, whereby a person has the right to be tried by their peers. They have a right to be governed or have laws enforced by a local person, such as the sheriff, that is elected by the people. And this is what Cliven Bundy has been trying to tell the public for a long time. That it is the sheriff, and if you go back and study the Constitution, you find that Cliven Bundy is absolutely right. When discussions came up at the Constitutional Convention with regards to how much land the federal government should be in control of, there was a committee of 3 appointed, Jefferson, Pinochet, and I forget the other member that was on this 3-man committee. But Pinochet reported back to the main body, and what he said is we fear that should the federal government ever have the ability to hold vast amounts of lands within admitted states, that they would awe the states into undue obedience and destroy the state's independence. And thus, because of that testimony, that recommendation, they incorporated Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 in the Constitution, whereby the federal government is only to acquire land for forts, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. Unfortunately, over the generations, there's been much evolution and corruption occur with interpretation of our national Constitution. And I believe the general public now understands that. And that is one of the reasons that so many people from all over the United States turned out to support the Bundy family this last week at Bunkerville, Nevada. It is also one of the reasons why that thousands and thousands of people were calling their representatives, calling Congress, calling the sheriff of Nye County, calling anybody they could to see that that family was not abused by the federal thugs that now represent the federal government that now is controlling absolutely all aspects of our life here in the Western United States. And so I say to you, I do not have a lot of time here today. And I could cite many other questions that many of us have tried to put before this so-called federal district court system. But these people, I've been there. These people just simply do not hear our questions. They intentionally ignore our questions. Thus, no matter how much we spend, no matter how much time we put into research, we go to court, and that federal district court will not even consider the evidence we present. So I ask the people of America, reconsider if you're skeptical about the Bundy family. And look into the issue deeper yourselves. Because I think you'll find that if we do not, and we allow this federal government to increase its power and its jurisdiction further and further into the lives of everyday Americans, we're very surely going to lose the freedom and liberty that America is supposed to be about. Thank you.